Everyone has heard of the classic fairy tale, The Sleeping Beauty, a story that originates in the 14th century and tells the tale of a young princess cursed by an evil spirit. The princess was forced to sleep for 100 years until a young prince puts an end to the curse and wakes her up by kissing her. Usually, fairy tales have little to do with reality, but quite often we encounter real-life events that do not seem logical either, but resemble fiction and fantasy tales. What if there's more to these myths than meets the eye? In the late 19th century, on a remote island off the coast of Sweden, a teenage girl went to bed and did not wake up for another 32 years. Her extraordinary story captivated the imagination of Europe, earning her the nickname, the Sleeping Beauty of Oknö. We travel to Oknö, Sweden, and investigate this momentous, real-life, unexplained mystery that not even science was able to fully understand. A 2-century-old mystery that may also hide information useful to scientists and humanity. This is the story of Karolina Olssen, also known as the Sleeping Beauty of Oknö, the woman that slept for 32 years. What if the story of Sleeping Beauty was not entirely fictional, but a real human condition? And what if this condition of the human body can become a solution to a bigger problem? Can any person sleep for an extended period and wake up having aged just slightly? And is it possible for a person to enter a state of hibernation or suspended animation, only to wake up decades later and have normal functioning of consciousness and cognition? Any such scientific advancement can most certainly propel the human race into the beginning of our journey into the stars, since time is our biggest problem. In 1876, 14-year-old Karolina suffered a head injury after tripping over and falling on ice while on her way home from school. Her family was located on a remote island of southern Sweden, an island with a population no more than 20 people. Karolina had to walk 4 miles to reach the school. Her parents, as they were farmers, could not waste several hours every day just to walk her to school. So her mother was teaching her at home until she was old enough to walk alone. The details of her accident are not certain. It was recorded she was injured, albeit not heavily. We know that she probably slipped and hit her jawbone on ice, and that she complained about a toothache after returning home. People of that age were explaining everything using the paranormal and folk. So her mother told Karolina that the accident was the work of an evil spirit that bewitched her, and told her to go to bed immediately. 4 days later, Karolina complained to her parents of a severe headache. On the night of February 22, 1876, Karolina went to bed, but she didn't wake up the next morning or the morning after. The small, isolated island of Oknö, where her family lived, was inhabited mostly by poor farmers, and there was no local doctor available to provide immediate care. Her father, unable to afford medical treatment, relied on the support of the community to bring a doctor to their home. When the doctor arrived, he was astonished by Karolina's condition, describing her as being in a deep coma that required further medical examination. He kept visiting Karolina for months, while trying to convince the medical community to focus on her and find a cure for her condition. Numerous doctors visited the Olssen family, and all of them were surprised at one single detail they noticed immediately. The girl's hair and fingernails didn't seem to be growing all this time. Still, They attributed her good hygiene to her mother, who was taking care of her daughter all that time. Another strange aspect of her condition was that Karolina wasn't losing any weight, even though her diet was limited to just 2 glasses of milk each day. In the 6th year of Karolina's prolonged sleep, in 1882, her parents, following their doctor's recommendation, decided to take her to the city of Oskarshamn for electroshock therapy. After a month with no apparent improvement in her condition, they returned home with her, disheartened by the lack of progress. The hospital indicated that there was nothing more they could do for Karolina, urging the family to wait and pray for a miracle. The diagnosis given was a form of paralysis known as dementia paralytica, but every other doctor who examined her case rejected this conclusion. Years later, after one of Karolina's brothers passed away, family members reported seeing tears streaming down her face, suggesting she might have been aware of her beloved brother's death. Despite this emotional response, Karolina remained in her deep sleep. One day, her father heard her scream from her room, shouting, "God, have mercy on me!" He rushed to her side, only to find her pulling the covers over herself and slipping back into her slumber. When Karolina's mother passed away in 1905, the family appointed a maid to provide full-time care for her. At that time, Karolina was heard crying from her room on rare occasions. The maid stayed with the family for the next 4 years, during which time she and Karolina's father overheard her mumbling and moaning in her sleep, though she never fully awoke. More time passed, and on April 3rd, 1980, the family's prayers were finally answered when the maid entered Karolina's room and found her crying on the floor beside her bed, fully awake for the first time in years. There is a part that is illogical and has to do with the fact that her whole daily nourishment was just 2 glasses of milk with sugar and water. This was also a reason that many were skeptical about the whole ordeal of the Olssen family, and a psychiatrist later suggested that Karolina might have been at times closing her eyes and not responding of her own volition, probably suffering from a rare psychiatric condition. There were many derogatory remarks about her and her family. However, the fact that she wasn't responding to the basic neurological tests proves that this story wasn't just a case of a person unwilling to talk, stand up, or even open her eyes. There was a medical case, an incident, and a condition that this woman suffered from. Possibly for the first few years, and until she was treated at the hospital, Karolina didn't wake up at all. But this may have changed later. Maybe the treatment changed something, since after that, no more doctors visited again. Karolina was certainly taken care of by her mother most of the time, and possibly she was waking up or entering a state between dream and reality where she could say some words and eat food, but not completely wake up and reach wakeful consciousness. When she woke up, she didn't look like a middle-aged woman, but a lot younger, possibly between 30 or 35, while she was in fact 49. Another confusing fact that adds to the mystery. The news of Karolina waking up was massive, and many were interested to learn her side of the story. Reporters and doctors, as well as many others that were just curious, went to visit the family cottage. She couldn't give any information at all, though. She didn't remember anything from these 32 years. It seems that the Karolina Olssen case was one of a kind, since no other person was ever recorded being in such a state for so long. However, stories of other people sleeping for a prolonged period of time have also emerged. After that incident, she lived for another 40 years, She was always kind and open to everybody's in her community. Karolina started anew after waking up and lived a happy life until passing away on April 5th, 1950, at the age of 88. The actual solver of the mystery should have been Karolina herself, yet she took the secret to her grave. She spent the rest of her life at the family farm and became known to this day as the Sleeping Beauty of Oknö, the woman that slept for 32 years.